Peace. So today I wanted to build briefly about strategies as it relates to teaching knowledge of self. And I've had knowledge of self for over 25 years. And the way I taught 25 years ago is different than how I teach now. And it was through that lived experience that I kind of figured out various different strategies or methodologies that are more successful than others. And that's what I wanted to build about today. I wanted to frame this build in the context of harm reduction. And harm reduction are a set of strategies or methodologies that are typically practiced within therapeutic spaces, such as substance abuse or people who are dealing with various different types of addictions. And it's the perspective that, as opposed to just striving to expect someone to just stop something cold turkey, that certain strategies or methods need to be put in place to help reduce the negative impacts and consequences of that addiction, because over time that person will eventually give that addiction up. And I think that also applies to learning knowledge of self, because in this journey of self-discovery, many of us have been taught things, whether it's dealing with dietary practices, whether it's dealing with the way in which we view the world, that are negative or they're harmful to our growth and development. And I think sometimes it's 5%ers or anybody who may be striving to uplift humanity or to teach people to evolve and to grow and develop. Sometimes we may have an approach that is not the best, and it doesn't take into consideration that sometimes people need to be weaned off of certain dietary practices that they have, or certain things that they are actually invested in, or even just cutting off certain type of relationships. Sometimes that could be more harmful than walking a person every step of the way. So for example, I remember times where I've met people, and back in the day, this is over 25 years ago, I would just expect them to just stop eating pork and all of its byproducts, right? Which is really unrealistic, especially if this person has been centralizing things like that in their diet for over 15 or 20 years. The best approach is to strive to teach people how to wean themselves off and to give them other alternatives or options when it comes to that diet. So one approach could be, in terms of harm reduction, is to show them alternatives to pork and say, well, I know that you eat breakfast every morning and you like bacon. You know that they have alternative forms of bacon. They may have turkey bacon. They may have non-meat substitutes for bacon. And to introduce a person to that without maybe expecting them to be able to go to the grocery store and to read every single ingredient of the products that they're buying to see all of the different variations of what pork is. That's something that you can kind of teach people as you grow and develop. But to have that expectation right off the rip may be more harmful to a person as opposed to approaching them with a harm reduction perspective. And that, I think, is important to consider with all areas of life. There are certain things when we just look at ourselves that we may be able to stop cold turkey, right? We may be able to just get into the gym and do that consistently. Sometimes we may need to wean ourselves back from certain type of practices and move ourselves slowly from a sedentary lifestyle in order to incorporate a new routine into our life. And to expect ourselves to just stop everything cold turkey is unrealistic. So I will, this was inspiring, it was empowering, it was educational. It just gave those of you some basic perspective on what harm reduction is and how it could be implemented when it comes to teaching others, and having patience and consideration and reasonable expectations when it comes to growth and development, because sometimes our approach may cause more harm to people than what we really intend and what we expect.